Good afternoon. I'm MJ from Lioness Publications, and what we're going to cover in this session is the leader of Mexico, and that's Claudia Sheinbaum. So we're going to look at, in effect, what's going on from now to the end of the year. And just to recap on some of the stuff that's been happening, um, she is the leader of Mexico, and she has actually played her cards very well. Trump has been very assertive on what he wants done with the border, very assertive on the tariffs. And she has, she's kept this stuff relatively private. So it's not like she is confronting Trump. So it seems that they've come to some type of uneasy truce here, which seems to be working. There are some, statements that Trump has made that he may go into places where there are cartels, even though they're sovereign countries. So that's a bit alarming. But maybe it's just him talking and he's not going to do anything. But we'll see. And so far, what I've seen on Claudia's angles coming up, there's not that much. There's one next year that, I'm frankly looking at and saying, okay, we'll need to come back and look at that. So why don't we start? First thing we have is, and this is on the transit, 720 of 25. So this was earlier in the year. And this was, some of the stuff going back and forth with the tariffs and not just with Mexico, but with all the world. We had Pluto in conjunct Sun. So again, we have control manipulation and in effect coming down on her identity. It's an inconjunct, so it's a break and adjust. You're not really going to be able to resolve this. You sort of have to, at the way it is, you have to sort of fix things. And in this case, there were challenges to her authority, probably rivals. And she also, if she was probably very, careful about making sure she kept control. Also being a leader, a woman, is probably more difficult when dealing with Trump because he tends to put women in a different league than men leaders. But she got through that. She seems to be, I don't want to use the word handling him, but she seems to know how to deal with Trump. And I think most of it comes with having to take most of these discussions in private rather than having a Twitter conversation. Next thing is a solo arc angle that came up on the 1st of August. And this was Saturn in conjunct Neptune. And this is a one where she may have had misgivings about the way to tackle it. Because what this means is Saturn, sort of the established way of doing things versus an idealistic way of doing things. So this sort of meant that, it's an inconjunct, you're just not going to be able to do the established way of doing things, and you're not going to be able to keep it to the idealistic way you want to. So these two are just not making any inroads together. So what happened is that she probably had to make some, dealings. So she had to make some deals, some compromises. And as I noted in the previous video, she actually, turned over some drug cartel people to Trump. So she's learning how to be pragmatic and knowing where she can win her fights and where she can't, which is a sign of a good leader. They know where they shouldn't sort of give up on their ideals and where they can afford to move a little bit. The next thing we have coming up is on 10/3 of this year, and that's going to be a Saturn in conjunct Uranus. Yeah, quite a few inconjuncts here. So, definitely, just hard to do things in any, logical flow. In this case, it's the established order versus the changes that are coming about. So in effect, you can't have the changes that need to be made. You can't have them with in effect, the structure that's in place. And that tends to be something that happens to all, countries, their governments, their structures as they get older. They have to adjust the structures to be able to make the innovations they want to be able to move ahead, to do better for their people. So this is not unexpected, but it can lead to policy contradictions, which means that her people, and, other parties may go against her, saying she's contradicting. She said she was going to do this, and now she's not going to do it. So that's the danger in that. Now, the next thing we have coming up is on 12/31 of this year, we have Pluto in conjunct Sun. Yeah. Whenever we have Pluto, we sort of step back and say, okay, but this is the one she already had. She had that on 7/20. So in effect, this one is coming back, which means that, yeah, it's sort of a crisis that's coming about, and it's hitting her identity. It's hitting how she's going to be perceived. So I expect that this may be Trump or someone else sort of calling her out, saying, unless you do this, in public, and unless she can take it in private, it's going to be difficult because she's going to look like she's losing the battle. So it's a moment of reckoning for her. But she did the last one, so I expect that she might be able to do this one fine, too. Now, I am going ahead till next year because she has one angle that, is making me say I want to take another look at this next year. On March 19th of 2026 in the solar arc, she's got Pluto square Venus. So this is, in effect, the control, manipulation, and we've got her possibly voters. So it could be that, she's not coming across well to her voters. When you've got Pluto, it can also be something where there's controlling her. So it's something that deserves another look. It indicates issues with the public image, alliance breakdown, which means that she may possibly lose some power in her party. There may be scandals associated with this, but just in general, power struggles and relationships. Any type of relationship, not a personal, more or less a business, a government type of relationship. So that's the only thing that I see at this time that warrants a second look, and that's in next year. So I hope you enjoyed this quick little video on the leader of Mexico. And have a great day. Bye now.